Well, rapper DMX has passed away, and I know a lot of people already know, and they've seen it in the news. He was 50 years old, or I'll say 50 years young. And so him and I are not that far apart in terms of age. Um, it's just sad. I know that people will are have already said a lot of things, a lot of good things. Some people have not said so many good things because maybe they didn't understand maybe the music or who he was. Um, but I will say this: I remember the good things. So I remember that he was real charismatic in his style of rap, and he had a real forceful voice when he was on the mic, and his music is really, really popular. And I say um, it's fair to say like the early '90s, and then even then after it was still relatively really popular with hip hop dance and club music. And back in that time when hip hop in '90s was really popular, the hip hop '90s styles, he was like you could hear his music in every club. And um, I remember that era, and so it was always his music was always real. How would you say he would get the party started? He was really hyped when he was on the mic, and real motivational in terms of like getting you to not want to sit down and want to get out and dance. And even if you weren't a person that was into that music, you just felt something. So you felt like, wow, this music is real. It has a lot of energy to it. So he was really charismatic in his style of rap. So I must say, each rapper, it seems like they all have their own little style. Where if it isn't, and it's something they say that's really distinctive about their character and who they are. So you know who it is even without even seeing his face. That's how he was. You knew when you heard that growl, or when you heard him make the growl noises of the dog. And you know um you knew it was DMX. Every rapper has something that they do that reminds you, yeah, you can just basically, you don't even have to see who it is rapping. You can just hear the voice, and maybe they say something, and you can figure out who that rapper is. And that shows the uniqueness about each rapper, because every rapper isn't the same. And so, and if you're really good with it's almost like that game where you have to guess who sings the song in the music. And so it's like with rappers, you like guess who that rapper is. Maybe I started something, but he was really unique in his style of rap. And so he will truly be missed. He is truly missed by many, many fans and people who are fans of not only his music, but as he progressed in life, he had like a lot of problems. And who doesn't? People, everybody has different issues in their lives that they deal with. Some people are more personal with it, and some people are more open about what their issues are. And what I think were his greatest attributes. If he wasn't perfect, he wasn't afraid to show that he wasn't perfect. And so he admitted that he had faults, he had problems, and he made mistakes. And those were, I think, the greatest things about him. If people will belittle or talk about him or say, oh, he shouldn't have did X, Y, and Z, he shouldn't have did all these drugs and all these things like that. I mean, he knew he had a problem and he was honest about it. And there are people who know they have a problem and they're not honest about it. And he was honest about it. And so I think that's the part. I think out of any video that anybody can make, I feel like this is more what makes him a really cool dude because he was honest about his issue and he didn't hide the fact that he had flaws. And a lot of people that you see that have a platform, they hide their flaws. They hide who they are behind the mic or behind the screen or behind that character that they portray themselves to be. And you don't get a lot of people who come out and say, I have a drug addiction or I have whatever. There are some other people who have been honest and they finally, it maybe something happened to them in their lives. They hit rock bottom and they finally come to a place where they decide to talk about their personal struggles. And I feel like for DMX to come out and say that he had problems with addiction was a big, big, huge step because, you know, being a black man in America and then having the pressure of having to, you're famous and you're a rapper and you're looked up to, of having to have this persona that you can't be flawed, that you have all this pride and you have all this strength and you never fail at anything. Some people are under the impression that people can't be human. People, just people, every day have everyday lives. He stepped out of his character and became himself and said, "Look, I'm DMX, but outside of DMX, the stage name and the music and the hip hop industry, I'm a man and I'm Earl Simmons and I have an addiction. And so I have issues. I have a life. I have a family. I have kids. I'm not perfect." And he checked himself into rehab. And so I think those are the things in being black, and coming out and admitting you're a man and you come out and admit you have an addiction is the first step of being honest about who you are as an individual because a lot of people are not honest. A lot of people are afraid to say I'm human. I have I have flaws. I have um, things about me that I'm not happy about and I wish I could change and I'm trying to do the best that I can. And unfortunately, after years and years of putting your body through a lot of abuse, when you start to age, it comes back to haunt you. And so I wanted to do this video like this in this respect because I don't think people really knew who he was helping because by him admitting his problem, there's many other people out there he could have been helping by just doing that because they feel now that they can come out and say that they have an addiction with whatever and they're trying to work on that. They're trying to work on themselves. And a lot of people don't look at things like that. They don't think working on yourself is a cool thing, and it is because you're trying to be a better individual than what you were. When you get older, you've made mistakes and you have made choices that weren't the best choices, and so now you're trying to resolve those issues or correct those flaws or do the best you can to change some of the negative behaviors into something more positive. And so it takes a lot of experience and wisdom and going through something. And he definitely went through something in his life. And so now he's come to a place where he is looking at, you know, being a better person. And so unfortunately, years and years of having to go through those struggles, and some that weren't even of his own fault, it takes a toll on your body. And I think for people in the black community in particular, and anybody outside, but in particular in the black community, there's a sense of pride, a sense of strength, a sense of wanting to keep it together and hold it down, as we say. And especially if you're a male, you try to have this attitude that you can take care of yourself and take care of your family and take care of, whatever your problems are. You don't show weakness, and that's the big thing, is not showing weakness. And by him admitting that he had the addiction and trying to check himself into rehab, it wasn't a show of weakness. It was more a show of strength. And in the black community, I feel like that's the problem that we have, is being afraid to show that you're human, that you need help with some issues, that you have some flaws or some character flaws, or you have addictions, or you have made choices that you don't feel comfortable with, or you yourself may feel later in life, oh wow, I can't believe I did that. I wish I could change what I did wrong. And some things you can't change, some things you just say, okay, I'm going to be a better person. I'll do this next time. And so those are the things that I think make him the person who he was, elevated in a positive light, because you see his growth, his emotional growth, and his maturity level had began to grow as he aged. And so who knows what he could have been if he had still been here, being a mentor maybe for people. He was being a mentor for people who have addictions or have problems, and they feel like they don't have anybody that they can relate to turn to, that understands their issues. And so that's the thing. And I feel like with some people who deal with addiction, they listen better to another person who has had the same struggles, because they know what it's like to have those issues in your life and be struggling with it. Talking to somebody who hasn't had those same set of experiences, it's hard to feel like that person understands your plight, or the direction you're trying to go, or what you've been through. So that's why mental health and well-being is just as much a part of people's lives as anything else would be. And I feel like that we lack a lot of that. And so sometimes people feel, if they have a listening ear of somebody who represents who they are, or they understand what they've been through because they've been through it themselves, or either maybe they're from the same community and they understand, I know what it's like to have an addiction. I've had addictions myself. I overcame this addiction doing this, and that. And so he would have been that person that maybe many people would have looked up to, in terms of him being a recovering addict. And so, probably if he had still been alive and he made it out of that situation, he would have been, I'm going to say in a positive sense, he would have been a positive, even more positive role model on another level, a whole nother level. And he would have probably helped a lot of more young people who are hurting, who don't have anyone to talk to. And he knew what it was like to not have parents that are supportive, or to be alone or feel alone, or to turn to substance abuse for whatever that void he was trying to fill. And so when he realized, this is not working, I need to fix this, and I really want help, he had done many things. He cried out for help. And I feel like this pandemic exacerbates addiction, because if you look at it, you notice the liquor stores aren't closed. We know the grocery stores, department stores, and some of the essential businesses aren't closed, but how is it that liquor stores are essential? Is it helping you get through the pandemic by staying high, or zooted? Maybe forgetting about this George Floyd trial, forgetting about some of these other issues, I'm wondering how's that working, but I don't know. I think sometimes it just kind of adds more fuel to the fire if you're already revved up about a lot of these things. And so to bring it back to DMX, I feel like he would have been a positive role model in the sense of when he had disclosed his personal life about his addiction. To open up and be that honest and have millions of strangers hear your story like that, that is true strength. Having said that, I'm going to let this go, but rest in peace, DMX, who is known as Earl Simmons. I'll say a short story before I go. I already said mini story, a mini series already, but um, he was in South Carolina for a while. He lived in Greer. My mother stayed in Greer. My mom and my brother used to see him a lot, and he was really, really friendly. Um, she used to call me and she would tell me that they saw him. And my brother, he said he shook his hands a couple of times. So this is what kind of person he was. And so on a personal level, I feel like he was a person that some of these people don't even know. And so for him to come out and that's who he was. He was honest about his addiction. He was honest that he wasn't perfect and he checked himself into rehab. How many people famous that'll do something like that out in the open like he did and be a rapper? Because there's this persona about rappers. They're hard, they're tough, they're strong. They can't show these signs of weakness. And so what is weak? I think that's the biggest strength that I ever did see. To say that in front of people you don't even know that could judge you. And he got judged by some people. I've seen some of the comments, even on Twitter, people saying things, talking about him. Oh, he's a drug user and this, that, and the other. If you look up some of the famous people in the past that have died with similar issues, you realize it's not the people, it's a disease. And so he was honest about it. And you got to give him credit for that, I would say. So having said that, I'm going to let this video go. Once again, DMX, great guy. I know him as Earl Simmons. And anyway, I'm going to let this video go, and he is in a better place now, and he's around people who are mature and accept him for being who he was, Earl Simmons, being the man that he is. Thanks for listening.